For the past 2 years, 10 Investigates First Coast News has introduced you to families across the state still waiting to get home after their homes were destroyed by Hurricane Irma in 2017. The homeowners are part of the Rebuild Florida program, a program that was given hundreds of millions of dollars from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development.
Well, that funding was awarded through Community Development Block Grants, all of it to help repair homes. HUD awarded more than 80 cities and counties across the state funds back in 2024. Now, some to help rebuild after the storms, while the money went to help low-income homeowners make needed repairs.
But with millions of dollars going into these communities, investigative reporter Jennifer Titus found the towns don't always have the proper infrastructure to handle the money, and people continue to wait.
The HVAC unit is over here.
It's going to be around the house.
When Whitney Brown bought this older home,
The new pad that they put on top of the existing one, and now it's going down. And now it's leaning, which eventually can throw off the coolant or something.
she knew that there would be things that would need to be fixed.
I am, of course, a low-income single mother, first-time home buyer.
But she wasn't able to afford a new HVAC system.
It was shortly after I moved in this home that I seen it on Facebook.
An ad about the City of Sanford's Housing and Rehabilitation Program, a program for low and moderate income persons paid for by a community development block grant by the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development.
I probably applied for the program earlier that year. I think it was July when I found out that it was awarded, and I don't think it was until almost December until the work was actually commenced.
But the work quickly turned into a problem.
And of course the water was coming here, so it hit the electrical box, and then the light leaked. You'll see a rust around the light. It was actually leaking from the light.
She says the $20,000 project left her with mold, deteriorating drywall, and the HVAC system wasn't working right.
The water damage and the mold is something that I worry about with any of my children. Like I said, I have a 13-year-old, a 5, and a 2-year-old, because my 2-year-old is a premature hydrocephalus disabled child with cerebral palsy.
She says the project failed inspection 5 times.
I have a warranty I've never seen before.
She says she got no help from the contractor to fix it or the city.
That's disgusting. It really, truly is. And again, you have no excuse. There is no excuse for the way we're treating these people.
The audio you hear there is from a CDBG meeting last spring, where Chair Shane Lillibridge was fed up with the complaints and lack of help the program's recipients were getting.
More of these issues are going to come up because these contractors suck.
The advisory board is there just to oversee and make suggestions.
We sat down with Lillibridge a few months later, where we learned up until that meeting, the program manager was signing off as the inspector on projects.
Was that person trained and able to sign off on those projects?
I can't say. I don't believe so.
So that's when we sat down with Nicole Osborne, the city's director of community relations and neighborhood engagement.
Would you say that program manager was, qualified to do the inspections?
She has attended some of those trainings at the Florida Community Development Conference, as well as the national conferences, and there's information on HUD Exchange, which is a great plethora of information. So she has attended and participated in those training videos.
She says when they started this program 2 years ago, they didn't have the staffing from an internal department under development services to do inspections.
So that's when she got to training in order to do the inspections herself. And so we had some problems.
And it's not just in Sanford where communities have had growing pains with using the HUD grants, especially with the influx of federal funds in Florida to rebuild after recent storms. Back in June, we sat in on a conference call with Sarasota officials who confirmed that more than 2 years after Hurricane Ian, they had only completed 1 home.
Did you guys have everybody in place that you needed to when you started getting these funds in for Ian?
So they're adding staff, which certainly makes things faster, more efficient for us with our new funds. We expanded our internal staff a little bit and keeping a close eye on making sure we can juggle everything all at the same time between our Ian funds and our new funds.
Thank you. 2 months after that call, they say they finished renovations or replaced mobile homes for 22 families.
I'm not a contractor, I'm not a builder. I'm the first to say that. But it's not supposed to look like that.
So they just propped it up and said, don't use this window.
We've spoken to experts about these types of grants after we uncovered mishandling of funds and contracts from the Rebuild Florida program. That program uses CDBG funds to help hurricane victims.
Do it better the next time, because it's a matter of time before another hurricane or some other disaster hits the state, and we're spending more money again. And at the very least, we should be spending that money better than we spent this month.
The experts we spoke to all say communities are given a chunk of money with little oversight or infrastructure to handle the projects.
After hearing complaints and I guess dealing with a couple of contractors, you guys have actually taken the step to actually stop relationships with some of the contractors.
Most definitely. So we are no longer using those 2 contractors that we were using a few years ago.
Osborne says the city no longer uses the contractor that performed the work at Whitney's home.
And I actually had to remind them to change out these faces.
And they have also hired an outside inspector.
I am confident going forward having this inspector, and we have 2 for our programs now, that we should not see these problems in the future.
With more communities having their own CDBG programs, she wants them to learn from their growing pains.
Don't put so much faith in the contractor. Make sure that you can get as much information you can as the program manager. Also, a project manager would be great to have on board.
And we know we tell you about these programs all the time with various communities opening up these funds for help. Make sure you ask questions, get everything in writing, and ask for copies of your contract, warranty, and for anything you put your signature on. Jennifer Titus, 10 Investigates.